What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 454 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we'll be breaking down some of the current events, the rumors, news, the gossip, and anything else that's happened in the world of professional wrestling over the past few days that we feel like talking about here on the podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Robert D. Felice.
Tony, it's Friday. How you feeling on this Friday?
Well, I should kind of repeat what Brody Lee tends to say. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah. What does it mean?
You know.
Brody Lee, if you're out there, what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, Evil Uno hasn't specified yet. I don't think anybody else in Dark Order has. Maybe it means who the fuck's Griff Iverson? Maybe that's it.
I love that bit.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bits. Doing all right. Can't really breathe all that well. It's not a COVID thing.
Jesus,
people don't worry.
You can't say that at the time of COVID.
Yeah, people should know that. In case in the middle of a podcast, I'm just like, and be like, oh, it's a good breath or something. It's not that. It's asthma. But how you doing?
I'm alive. I've done a lot of these recordings this week. I feel like lots of podcasts with you. I did some with Callum. I did some elsewhere. I'm sure we'll get into that with the plugs. But yeah, I feel like I've been talking into a microphone a lot lately.
Now you still have 2 more coming up because another episode of the Paul Heyman SmackDown. We got a Patreon request from Guest 5 that we're going to be doing hopefully on Sunday. So yeah, and then we got butt ton of them next week too, because next week we've got the 2 pay-per-view predictions, the hot tags, the pay-per-view results for the 2 things. So.
And then another pay-per-view, and then another pay-per-view. It's like normal times. It's happening, Tony.
It's normally abnormal times. Yeah. Well, lots of things coming your way when it comes to those things. I will plug a lot of things going forward, but first things first.
Tony, I don't know if Caroline wants you to say that on the air. Jesus.
Well, depends. Let me look at my watch. I'm not wearing a watch. I'm pulling a Stone Cold here. The first thing I need to let everybody know, or to remind everybody, because you should know this by now, is that you should be telling us what you think about these topics, and you should be doing that in any fashion that you can. You can send a tweet at SmarkOutMoment, which you should be following if you have Twitter anyway. You should check out the Facebook page. You should go to the pages on smarkoutmoment.com, or the best thing out of all is to go to the YouTube channel and go to the video for this one, hit the like button on that, hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't done that already, and ring that little notification bell. And while you're over there, keep the discussion going by dropping a comment below and telling us what you think about these hot tags, what you think about what we think about these hot tags, what we should think about you thinking about what we think about what you think. Help me, help you, help me, that kind of thing. Just kind of keep the cycle going. And we got a lot of hot tags to actually break down. This is one of those weeks where I was telling you this ahead of time. Of course, people that weren't listening to us when we weren't recording won't know, so that's what I'm going to say now here. This is a week where a lot of things have happened, but a lot of things that happen aren't things that are worth having giant discussions about, because they almost kind of have to wait a little bit for some of them to play out. And, I've been doing this quick takes thing on e-wrestling news, and I've got nothing. Like, none of it seems like it's so big that it could be like an entire, 1,000-something word article about it, but there are still a lot of things to talk about that are smaller. And maybe
you could totally stretch something if you wanted to, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of stretching. Look at how many times I complain about the whole Bailey and Sasha Banks thing going on. You can stretch some things out. Like, I'm the type of guy that in school, if you gave me a 40-minute presentation and, everybody in the group went for 5 minutes, I could be like, all right, I'll do the rest of it all on my own. I could figure that out, but I'm not going to be like, hey, each hot tag here is going to be an hour long. Let's get a whole hour-long discussion about the TNT title belt or something,
Well, you never know. We could drag these things out. We have a tendency to do that sometimes, and I think some of these topics you could drag out. Like, if you wanted to, I'm sure you could get 1,000 words out of Randy Orton and Ric Flair. Not even touching McIntyre yet. Just Randy Orton and Ric Flair.
Well, if you want us to do more, then hey, look at that. There's a plug right that comes out naturally. There is the Patreon, because the Patreon has the Patreon exclusive episodes where you can get more of us. It's the Darkcast tier, and if you donate to that tier or higher, then you get access to those. But there's also the Pick Your Poison tier, and as I mentioned before, Guest 5 has put a request out there, so at some point over this next week or so, you're going to be seeing a follow-up of what we did with the top rope list of the NXT roster. We're going to do one based off of tag teams and figure out the top 10 ranking of tag teams in NXT history so far, and then, kind of go about it like that. So if you want more of that, then hit up the Patreon. Even $1 goes a long way. I'll talk about that a little bit more again in the future. Let's talk about one of the hot tags here that's just, I mentioned NXT and, TakeOver 30's coming up and stuff. Let's talk about this one. Rumor going around right now. Not sure exactly if it's something that we should buy a whole lot into or not, but possibly on October 4th, another NXT TakeOver event. I
So
don't think that that's going to end up happening, though.
that is a Sunday, and I think it would, because they have wanted to try more of these solo takeovers. We saw, was it Portland? That had people, right?
I think that was the one at the beginning of the year, yeah.
And then there was in your house. So it makes sense to do another like separate takeover, because you can't do war games anymore.
Well, here's what's weird about it. Of course, we don't know how some of this stuff is going to work out throughout the rest of the year. I highly doubt that there's going to be any scenario where it's just going to be like everything goes back to normal and, whatever. But the game plan, until they say otherwise, was after we have this stretch where we go TakeOver 30 and SummerSlam the next night, and then the next week is Payback. Then we've got Clash of Champions coming up in September. That's going to be September 20th. And then what was supposed to happen was, well, originally this wasn't supposed to happen. This is Plan B. So before we get to Plan C, October 18th is Hell in a Cell, and the 25th is NXT UK TakeOver Dublin, the one that was supposed to happen at the beginning of the year.
Not likely, pal.
Well, that's what's weird about this is if they don't do NXT UK TakeOver Dublin, that's going to be the second time that got postponed, because it was originally supposed to be a little bit before WrestleMania. They pushed it to October thinking that was going to be like good then, but we have no indication that NXT UK is coming back anytime soon. They're supposed to be ready at any time, yet they're still doing clip shows. If they do the October 4th NXT TakeOver, then it kind of seems like that might take the spot of the October 25th one. If that's the case, though, in any fashion, November 5th was supposed to be Crown Jewel. That's not happening with them going over to Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine that? And then
how are their cases? We know nothing about them. What are they doing right now?
I don't know, but even like the international flight stuff, it's just not going to happen. So
yeah,
if people don't want to go over to Saudi Arabia as it is, the last thing they're going to want to do is go over there during a pandemic type of thing. You know what I mean? So you can pretty much cross off the November 5th Crown Jewel. And then the whole thing with War Games is it's usually the day before Survivor Series. So that would have been November 21st. I can't imagine that we're going to get, especially not when it comes to like Crown Jewel and stuff, but it seems a little crazy for us to have TakeOver and then SummerSlam, and then the next week Payback, and then a month later we have Clash of Champions, and then a month later we have 3 pay-per-views, 2 of them being an NXT one, and then the next month after that we've got 3 pay-per-views, so another one of them being an NXT one.
What do you mean? We're going back to normal. I just told you. It's getting back to normal.
I'm kind of working under the assumption here that either the October 4th thing doesn't happen and or the October 25th thing, maybe, who knows, whatever, but maybe they bump up War Games and maybe there's something to that. Maybe they don't want to do War Games right around
I don't
Survivor
think they can do War Games in a pandemic. I just don't. I don't know. We didn't get Blood and Guts. How did that feel like 5 years ago, too?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to get Blood and Guts.
Everything feels like it's been 5 years ago in this year.
Oh, yeah. Here's a fun statistic. AEW has had more COVID-era shows than regular shows.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, because October.
You want another fun statistic? Roman Reigns got leukemia again.
Really?
And was out for less time than he is.
Oh, I thought you meant he got. I was like, Jesus, again.
Oh no, that would have been big. That would have been big time news. But he had leukemia and was out for less time than COVID has kept him away from WWE.
Do you want to hear another statistic?
I do.
The only person who is eligible to be on the list of the phenomenal intercontinental statistic system is AJ Styles.
That's a bunch of piss, Tony.
That's from SmackDown that I will talk about that later.
That
Uh,
was fantastic.
I had to take advantage of it. We're bringing up statistics now. If you like statistics, go to the Royal Rumble statistics page. Actually, you know what? Here's a plug. Check out the Wikipedia page that I've got. It's not Wikipedia, it's one of those fandom wikis, but I've been working a little bit here and there on a Smart Out Moment wiki. So maybe you want to help out a little bit. I think it's available for people can make the edits and stuff. I don't know entirely for sure if that's the case. I don't know how these things work out 100%, but I'd like to help. And if not, just, if you want to find out like the information of some of these things, I've got a lot of that stuff written down on a little wiki thing. So statistics and organization and charts and stuff. Fun. But yeah, the takeover thing, I guess we're going to figure that out once it comes closer to that, because it wouldn't make sense for them to announce it now before NXT TakeOver 30. And then again, when it comes to something like this week, we got a confirmation of Payback in a very generic way. It was just Sasha Banks saying, and we found out that we're going to defend our titles at Payback.
So I message Fightful immediately. I'm like, was this confirmed on Raw that I missed or something? And I'm like, did they confirm this at all? Because she said it like it was a fact. Like, oh,
Right.
Payback. And they're like, no, it was only reported by PWI. And I ask you guys, because there's more of us in the Spark Out Moment chat. So I'm like, maybe? Nope.
No, I went back to my notes on Raw and everything, and I'm like, no, you know what? They don't say anything about Payback from what I can remember. So they just sprung that. And then a little bit later on, Michael Cole's like, by the way, if you sign up for the network, you get SummerSlam and you get Payback.
Payback.
So there you go. It's Payback. It's happening. It's something that they're going to have literally one show of Raw and SmackDown to get to. So we have one match confirmed in a sense. It's the women's tag team titles are being defended against whom? I don't know. So
while we're at it, let's get through another Michael Cole thing that pissed me off tonight. Just randomly throws out there. Now, there have been rumors for what feels like a month, but I'm sure it was only like the past couple of weeks, that SummerSlam wouldn't be at the Performance Center. That they were looking at the Northeast. They were definitely going to do SummerSlam away from the Performance Center. About yesterday, WrestleVotes and John Oliver on Twitter were like, yeah, it's going to be the Amway Center in Orlando. And that turns into, yeah, they're going to be at the Amway Center for everything that isn't NXT for the rest of the year. And then that turns into, nope, they're still not confirming it. We get to SmackDown. First match. They go, hey, there's a bunch of rumors that, WWE won't be here next week. And then by the Battle Royal, they're like, oh yeah, we won't be here next week, and we're going to have fans. What? What?
That's one of the biggest topics here, but it's also, again, one of those topics where it's like, it's speculation. We don't know exactly how it's going to work out, and it's going to be almost more of a topic once it happens and being able to say what we think about it, because right now, according to some sources and stuff, yeah, the Amway Center is going to be the home for WWE for a while, and they're going to move out of the Performance Center, which I'm kind of like, I wonder why they would still want to do that. Like, I would think that you would still want to have that as like a backup option or something, or maybe record some things there. Maybe they want to get people back training, but I don't know how they be able to actually necessarily do that.
Well, here's the deal. Performance Center resumed training on Monday. And John Alba just tweeted 2 minutes ago, a rep from the city of Orlando tells me and Spectrum News 13 that WWE has a use agreement with the Amway Center through October 30th, with no fans present in the building. So barring an amendment in the agreement, there will be no live fans through October, but WWE gets arena access for all events through then.
And the go-around seems to be that they're going to set up these LED screens and people are going to be doing like Zoom party things on there.
Yep.
Which that can't possibly work out well.
Obnoxiousness.
You got to figure, if it's regular fans, they need a way to like make sure that they stop people from doing things that they don't want them to do, because they can't have the benefit of having
somebody's gonna take their dick out.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, because the benefit of having thousands of people in an arena, even hundreds of people in an arena, is you've got like the noise gets drowned out and you can't hear individual things outside of the rare circumstances where you hear somebody say like, go back to Winnipeg to Jericho or whatever, like, go back to Toronto, I think is what he said. Cause he's like, I'm from Winnipeg,
Yeah,
you
I'm
idiot.
from
Yeah.
Winnipeg, you idiot.
But like on the screen in their home and everything, like people are gonna like moon the camera and shit. And what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna be able to hear them better because they're gonna have maybe a dozen or so people, and that's gonna be weird too because you're gonna hear like just some random dude's gonna be like, let's go live and stuff
Fucker
like
right in the pussy.
right, like
Yeah, like, oh, I'm sorry, but like
it's gonna happen. You're gonna get
fans
people
are
that
obnoxious.
like remember that one dude that was like you're the devil champa, like whatever. And
Yeah, fucking devil chomper.
so you're going to get these passionate fans that don't realize that they're going a little overboard. You're going to get the trolls that are going to specifically just say things that are offensive for the sake of it. You're going to get people that are just making a bad situation out of the whole thing. I guess we have to see how it works out when it works out, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that's going to be all that great. I got a feeling they try it out once and they're going to be like, God damn, this is a travesty, and let's go back to just having people ringside.
Um, I don't know. On the one hand, I'm like, I've seen them do this. I've seen NBA did this. MLB tried it. The virtual fans are weird, but it's worth a shot.
How are
It's worth a
they
shot.
doing it? Because I haven't seen any of this footage of any of this kind of stuff. So I'm working blind here when it comes to this.
Well, it literally is just, almost like holograms. Like they're just projecting people who I don't know if they're recording footage or what, but they're just projecting on a screen. And it's good. It could work out.
Do they try to make it look like they're sitting in the stands?
Um as far as I can tell, not really, but I mean it's there. So you have the LED board there. So it might appear like they're in the stands. But again, we don't even know what they're gonna look like in the Amway Center with nobody. You know, they're going to be in the Amway Center. And for context, this has hosted Hall of Fames, takeovers. Like, this is a real arena.
And to me, the issue isn't the appearance of fans, it's the sound. Like, I don't care about having, like, I mean, look at the background of, like, video games where they just, like, take those characters and they just plop them in, copy and paste and stuff like that. Like, that doesn't make a difference to me. It's the sound that does. So if you have, like, dead silence or relative dead silence and it looks like a bunch of people are there, that's going to be even worse than if there's nobody there. Because then it seems like they're not even reacting at all.
Well, supposedly, according to Ryan Satin, the wrestlers are going to be able to hear this and react to this. Like, there's going to be actual, like, fan interaction. So this is going to be a fucking hot mess.
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of
live, by the way. They're determined to go live with this.
I'm looking at a picture right now of 2020 NBA virtual fan things, and it's like that fills in the gap a little bit to where it doesn't look as bad, just like the visuals of it. But at the same time, that's not fixing the sound thing. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith that that's going to work out, but at least they're trying something. And it's, I guess, one step in the right direction. I don't know if that's really going to matter much in the long run, but
While we're here, let's talk about Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor announced that they're going to start doing tapings this month in the state of Maryland. So, like, everybody's collectively hit the point, Tony, where they're like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go. Let's just go. And we'll worry about it later.
It's a guarantee. It's at the beginning of the year when this thing happened and it seemed like it wasn't even going to be a thing. Then things changed around a lot to where it was like, all right, this is the thing, but maybe it's only going to last a couple of weeks. And then it became, well, if everybody behaves, this will only be like a 1 or 2 month thing. And then pretty quickly after that, it became, all right, we're stuck with this. And everybody's just going to slowly but surely care less and less. More and more people are going to die. And more people are going to go, yeah, but I'm fucking tired of doing this or whatever. And that's what sucks, because it's like, it goes to show how awful human beings are for them to be like, I cannot put aside what I want to do for 4 weeks. I have to have what I want when I want, even if it means everything is going to go to hell for years. Because this isn't ending. At the end of the year, some people act like that. Some people act like it's going to be like, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. Hey, look at that, COVID's fixed. It's like, no, it's not.
I have a bit of a theory that kind of goes on like the. You ever hear how like the presidency switched? I believe it was like I want to say it was Nixon out, and then suddenly they were like, yeah, let's bring the troops home from Vietnam. Or maybe it was Reagan in, and they brought the troops home. I wonder if it's like, hey, Biden in, here's a vaccine, let's start over.
Maybe. We could go down the rabbit hole of me thinking conspiracy stuff, because I'm still just sort of like, it's a little bit weird this is happening on an election year where it would be harder to vote if you did it on, not in person, and that we're doing a census and they're really harping on it, and that this is whatever, the economy's what, we could go down that whole thing, another, I don't know, an all talk show at some point or something. But yeah, the Amway stuff, it's going to be a bigger story after we see it, I think. And we can talk about the positives and the negatives. The same like when they started doing out of the Performance Center, it became like, all right, what's good, what's bad, what's not working, what do they need to fix, that kind of thing.
You think these shows would have been better if they just kept Triple H fucking with Michael Cole on commentary for the last 6 months?
Probably would have been a highlight of every episode, yeah. That was like, it's so weird to think about this, like how strange that first episode was, And again, doesn't it feel like 5 years ago?
Yeah, because like it's like you said, this went from, what an anomaly, to, okay, I guess this is the new thing, to, all right, this is just the show, to, okay, let's just get this back to where we had it before. We don't care what we have to do.
Well, I guess we'll figure it out. And I guess we should just move on then. Let's talk about the Shotzi Blackheart stuff. Shotzi had her car stolen, and she was upset mostly actually about her helmet in there. Her ring gear was a part of the, stuff in the car, and she was really bent out of shape about that, because that's something that has a lot of sentimental value to it. And happy story, happy ending. They found her car. It's busted up a little bit, but that could be fixed. And the helmet was still in there, and it seemed like pretty much everything else was still in there too. So it's intact, and she has her stuff back. And
yeah,
it's a weird situation. Like, who steals a car, drives it to a different area, busts the front of it, and then just leaves? What the hell? Like, and doesn't steal anything out of it. Like,
mathematic.
just maybe I don't know. I would think that person would have at least gone through the trunk and tried to take some things or something. Like, hey, if you're listening and you're the one who did this, the fuck? What are you thinking there? Well, that's cool that she got her stuff back,
She was brushing her teeth in the car.
Yeah.
And that was a weird one. I was like, what are you doing? You just rinsing out the window? Like you just spitting out the window? What are we doing here?
That was kind of endearing. She's like in her ring gear, and she's got her toothbrush because she just jumped right in the car with Jake Atlas.
Like, what a carny thing. Like, you're just in your ring gear brushing your teeth. You're stopped in the middle of like the road, and you're just in your ring gear, happy about a helmet.
Right. The cops are like, do you want to check out if everything else is up with your car? And she's like, I got my helmet. That's what matters. And they're like, what's up with the fucking helmet? Well, that's cool. I'm glad that worked out well, and she didn't lose that forever.
Yeah, that was a nice, happy ending. Much needed.
Let's move over from a happy thing to a sad thing. Kamala passed away. He had a lot of health issues over the years.
Levity, Tony. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, we'll bounce to a happy thing, a sad thing. We'll do that. He had some issues way back. This is, that wasn't a new story that he would have been suffering through anything, and I guess it all caught up to him. So like any other story that happens like this, it's just basically that's a shame, our condolences, that kind of thing. But as far as like Kamala stories or whatever go, you got anything that stands out to you? I always think of just the casket.
I think specifically just patting the belly. And when I think of like fun Kamala stuff, I do think of Undertaker because I think that's like the first Kamala match I ever saw. Because I was looking for Undertaker matches, and he's just a fun character, you know. He just like as you go back in time, you see the monster part of it, and that's always fun. But just a really good character that you don't get in wrestling anymore because if they were to do a character like that now, it would be seen as
Yeah,
like,
very inappropriate at this point.
well, I wasn't even going there. I'm just thinking like to do a gimmick like that would be like, oh well, you're doing it ironically because it's supposed to be a fun wrestling gimmick, as opposed to just being like, here's this madman. We found him in the jungle somewhere. He's gonna fucking kill you now. You know, you don't get that in wrestling anymore.
Those old school things that make no sense at all, where you're sitting there kind of thinking, why is it that this undead Undertaker wizard character and this trash man and this hockey player and a dentist and all these savages that are they need like handlers to bring them down to the ring just because they're like wild beasts essentially, and whatever a mantar is and all that, like why out of all the things in the world are they stepping inside a professional wrestling ring instead of just like, you
The
know,
job stuff is weird, and I've been going back and watching a lot of the new generation stuff, and it's very weird that that like it's normalized. They're like, well, here's Bob Holly, you know,
start
and
your engines.
like he's gonna be a race car driver, but he's gonna moonlight as a WWF superstar, and yeah, it almost makes sense to like the weird point of, well, that's why Brett was the champion because he wasn't fucking moonlighting as a wrestler. He put all his energy into it. Maybe if Duke the Dumpster Drosy wasn't too busy taking out the trash, he would have been a champion. You know?
Yeah. It's weird because like those old school things, you have characters that make no sense at all. And then you've got characters that are pretty much like guy in tights wrestles. Like a Greg the Hammer Valentine. Why is he the hammer? Because he hits like a hammer. What is he wearing? Enough stuff to cover his junk. Like, what is he like? Is he all flashy and stuff? No, he goes to the ring, he wrestles, and that's the end of it. Like, but then you got the honky tonk man. Okay, this guy's
He's
basically
fucking
Elvis.
Elvis.
And why is he trying to have a singing career? Why is Double J worried about his musical career when he's a wrestler? You know. But then again, you got like Jennifer Lopez is like an actress and a singer and a model and runs a clothing line and has a perfume and you're like, all right, well, I don't think that maybe the number one aficionado and expert on wine in the world are the Bella Twins or Carmella either. You know, like,
Right. It's like it's weird too because you got like Yokozuna. He's
not even
Japanese, but
Japanese.
and then if you look at it, they did a good enough job to where I would have thought he was Japanese. You
I
know,
did as a kid, yeah.
he's just a little tan, but that's normal because like Hogan's super tan, and you know they just everything seemed to just work, and you couldn't do 5% of that today.
Mm. So yeah, the Kamala character would not go well over these days, but back in the day, he was a fun character, so that's a shame that that's another story. But
I mean, yeah, and he like you said, the health issues. He had bad running with diabetes, and it's
amputation
just
stuff, yeah.
yeah, it just sucks. There's a GoFundMe out for his wife if you'd like to donate. I believe Chris Jericho gave like 5 grand because Chris Jericho's a nice guy. Uh, yeah, it's just one of those sad things. We're getting real close. I don't mean to be morbid here, but we're getting real fucking close to like. So there's Hogan and Flair. You know, like rapidly these bigger names are dying, and it's like, ugh. Well, you know that that day is coming. Like nobody lives forever.
It's so weird when you look at actors or wrestlers or anything, and you can see the age where, like, I mean, to me, if you say to me, picture Mike Myers, I picture Austin Powers.
Yep.
And if I see Mike Myers now, I'm like, what the hell? Like, if you say, another SNL guy, like, what do you think about Adam Sandler? I'm like, I think about Billy Madison or Big Daddy or something like that, or Happy Gilmore or whatever. You can't go from the Water Boy to the way that Adam Sandler looks now and not feel like a gut punch. And
At least Adam Sandler still kind of
he still
looks like
looks like
Adam
Adam Sandler.
Sandler.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
some
like
people after the few years, you just go like, "Wow, that's not even the same person," you know?
oh well. Okay, here's a good one related to wrestling. Shawn Michaels. I think for me, Shawn Michaels stops after WrestleMania 28. Because if I look at him now,
He just stops.
yeah,
He's like he's been living in some kind of time bubble or something.
like if you look at him now, it's like, whoa, who the fuck is this guy?
Shawn now, when he's wearing a cowboy hat, doesn't upset me as much. But when he just flat out showed that he was bald, that hit me like a ton of bricks. That was weird.
Well, like now he's like bald and he almost looks like Braun Strowman. He's like bald and he's got a fucking super beard. It's like, wait, and you're the sexy boy?
Yeah. I was looking up. See, this is how we do get into where the hot tags go on so long because we go on these completely random side things. I was looking up people that are wrestlers, their high school pictures yesterday because I was like, maybe I can try to make some kind of a post about that and kind of like a back to school type thing or something like that. And I might, in the future, just to kind of, have a little bit of fun with that. But the show, like not the show, the pictures between them of certain people is maddening. Like if you look at like Randy Savage, where it says like Randall Poffo, he doesn't look like him.
Yeah, he really does.
That's not him, And you need to add the glasses and the hat and the beard for me to be like, maybe that's the case. Like, but he doesn't seem like him at all. Big Show doesn't look anything at all like Big Show. That looks like that could be Big Show's grandson almost. Like, not even like that Big Show's old enough to have a grandson, but like he would need to be like 2 degrees separate from Big Show. You know what I mean?
This Randy Savage picture is wild.
Look at the Big Show one. Because the Big Show, like where he's got the hair, that's like kind of not like short, but like obviously he doesn't have like the really, really long hair kind of a thing. If you look at that, for instance, that is crazy. Where meanwhile, somebody like an Alexa Bliss, she looks exactly the same for the most part. Yeah. She's just like, okay, wow. Now she puts makeup on differently. That's no difference at all. But it's
Edge
crazy.
looks similar. He just got more of a mullet because it's like late 80s. Wow, look at Big Show.
Yeah. You want to laugh at somebody who you shouldn't laugh at? Look up Brock.
Oh yeah, I've seen the Brock. He looks like he's just like, hello, I'm here for my science test.
He looks like those cartoon characters where you would see like the giant hulked up muscular dude that would have like the little itty bitty voice or something like that, where he'd be like,
Bailey looks exactly the same.
Yeah, she does.
Let's see.
Miz looks the same. It's a lot of people like that.
Nikki Bella, wow, I almost identical. Mick Foley is just funny because it's almost like a Randy Savage, where it's just like, God, you look handsome. You look like
who is this suave, this lady killer? And then you're like, that's Foley. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll do something like that. It might go up on wrestling news or something. I don't know.
Kofi looks like a dapper young man.
Kofi looks like he's like 12 in that picture because he's got the hand around his face and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, wow. Alexa Bliss totally looks the same. Anyway, that's back to school talk,
How did we get on that topic? Talking about people getting older and Kamala. That's where I was. Yeah, the Kamala thing. Somehow we took Kamala and we went into high school. It happened naturally. I don't know. Hey, if you want more of this discussion and all that, hit up the Patreon. No.
Yeah.
Let's go to. Let's talk a little bit of AEW here. Let's talk about Mike Chioda. is now in AEW. It's pretty cool.
I like it. Uh, it's wild to me that I know the names of their referees.
Wait, let's see if I can name them. Aubrey Edwards,
Uh-huh.
Mike Posey.
Yep.
Nope, that's it. Well, now Mike Chioda.
Bryce Remsburg,
Mm,
Mike Chioda.
don't
I
know
want to
Bryce.
say Earl Hebner and
Oh yeah,
maybe
totally forgot about Hebner.
Brian Hebner.
Hmm.
And Bryce Remsburg, you know him. He's the bald dude who does all the Young Bucks matches.
Oh, now we got Chioda in there, so he's bounced back a little bit. It was always weird to me that they released him on that whole like Black Wednesday thing. Just seemed like an
Well,
odd thing to do. Like Chioda still can go. It's not like he's like,
he was in the company for 40 years. I think it just became, listen, bud, you had a great run. We love you. We'll bring you back. Just you got to go right now.
just seems like such a weird thing to do. Like I know that like we talked about this before with like the Hall of Fame, that it's kind of shitty that the WWE doesn't bother to do things like induct the referees or induct Jim Johnston or any of the people like that. Like Chioda could have been a Hall of Famer. Like I hope that they put him in the Hall of Fame at some point. He deserves it. He's been there for since the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, 80s.
So
Hebner should be in. It's a crime shame that he's not.
him I can understand more so though, because if he was trying to, rip off the company or something, then there's bad blood there. But if Kyoto's just a guy that's
Fuck
been around
that.
for a
How many
long
people
time.
haven't they forgiven? You're not gonna forgive a guy for doing some faulty merchandise deal?
Selective forgiveness is something that's happening in this business forever. But
Uh,
on that same kind of token, we've got 3 people that have been released from AEW: Jimmy Havoc, Bea
uh,
Priestley, and Sadie Gibbs. Now, Sadie Gibbs is the only one that's 100% confirmed her release.
well, B Priestley did as well. She basically
Oh, she
said,
did?
yeah, she went on Twitter and said, yeah, can't come to America right now because COVID and travel restrictions. So I'll be going back to Japan because they, handled COVID better than we did. And she said she'll be back in America, and then she thanked Tony Khan and Cody and all that.
So, the Priestley stuff, who is it that she is, like, kind of feuding with? I forget.
It was Britt Baker. They had a match at Full Gear.
No, I mean, like, in real life.
Sadie Gibbs.
Oh, the 2 of them?
Yeah.
Those were the 2. Fine. Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking that
Uh,
it was somebody else, like, because she's a part of that whole, like Osprey and all that. Like, there's a whole big thing going on, right? Like,
yeah. So I
it's
thought
hard to
that
keep
like
track of this shit.
when it was because the first two that people revealed were Priestley and Havoc, that they had their profiles removed, and I'm like, oh, um, that's gotta be that. Like maybe they're just like, okay, enough time has passed. We'll just, you know, release them now, and maybe people won't say anything. But yeah, it was Sadie Gibbs and Priestley who got into the fight at All Out. That was like a year ago. Fuck.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to keep track of this. But, like, all right, that changes my opinion about the thing I was going to say next, because I was going to say it'd be kind of interesting if Gibbs and Priestley went to WWE, but I would think if they aren't getting along, that probably wouldn't be the case. It'd probably be one of them might
You think
go
NXT UK picks up um
Priestley.
Priestley? Yeah, Priestley.
I think there's a really good chance because she's tight with Tony Storm, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I could see her getting there. I could actually see if that's the case. Wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world if Priestley went to NXT UK and they signed Gibbs to the regular NXT, because Gibbs is from, like, she lives in the United States, right?
No, I think that's why she got released.
I thought that there was a thing about her going through the whole training in QT Marshall's, or was that just before COVID?
That must have been just before
Uh,
COVID because she's from the UK.
Even still, I mean, people can move, so maybe that would be the case. But it wouldn't shock me if WWE at least tried to pick up either or both of these two. Jimmy Havoc, I don't think it's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Havoc, they stumbled on a lucky break there. They
If you
being
could
the
call it
company.
that, yeah.
They being the company not having to address some serious rape allegations. They're just like, okay, look, we put him in rehab, and yeah, now he's released because of his work visa, and he'll never come back. Thank you. Goodbye. You
Yeah.
know that's what they're gonna do.
I just assume that they'll just not talk about it.
Yeah,
It's
ever
just,
again.
he's gone and that's the
Fucking,
end of it.
where's Excalibur?
Yeah, it's a little strange. I mean, I guess he's just going to come back at some point, or maybe he won't. I don't know. It's what's the line from Reservoir Dogs? It's either he's dead or he's alive, or the cops got him, or they don't. Like it's just it's either he comes back or he doesn't.
That would be a fucking shame. I will say that right now. That would be a fucking shame. Because as far as I know, the thing that he got caught for, he apologized for several times. So yeah. Oh, here's a fun one. That EC3 shutdowns. I want to talk about this. Somebody tried to get Trent Beretta canceled because they found a 6-year-old tweet that simply read, "It should have been Kofi." So
How do you get canceled for that?
because they were looking to see if it was like, oh, was it something racist? And so he said, "Can somebody explain the context of this?" And Beretta was like, "I have no idea." And EC3 jumps in and he's like, "People got fired that day, I think, and you had a fake internet hatred thing with Kofi, who everybody knows is the most beloved."
Oh,
And
that's right. I remember this. Yeah. Wow. Because I
and
remember
then
reading about that and going, Trent and Kofi hate each other. What the fuck? Like,
and then the guy was like, "Oh, that's good to hear. Ridiculous shit by these investigators, but thanks." And he goes, "Oh, this beat EC3. Oh, is this a thing? Were people trying to take a tweet from 6 years ago out of context, but it was an inside joke that everybody who was supposed to get got?" And it's just like, thank you, EC3.
hmm.
I really appreciated that. Just like, good on EC3, stupid on people for trying to constantly cancel people.
Stop trying to look for fights, people. Sometimes it's just a matter of, you can misinterpret things that people say. And even if you can't misinterpret it, sometimes just fucking suck it up. You know what I mean?
But here's my thing. How about we stop going through people's Twitter accounts? Like, what you got nothing better to do but find out what somebody did 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
That's the
Really?
thing. A lot of people don't have anything better to do. Look at how many people have like Stan account things, and it's like this is the Roman Reigns fan club number 15 Instagram account or whatever. It's like get a
Yeah, but that
life.
shit used to be normal. Like, it went from like, oh, here's a few like edit pictures of Roman Reigns to like, I worship Roman Reigns and I'm gonna take down anybody who isn't Roman Reigns. It's fucking weird.
I don't know. Once you read fan fiction that people put out there, and where it's like they want to make Dean Ambrose their husband, and here's a story of me with Sasha Banks and whatever. Like once you start seeing that kind of stuff, you're like, no, you shouldn't have access to anything where you should interact with people. Just certain people should just be in a room with some padding. That's it. That's it.
Ah.
Let's see. We talked about Havoc, Gibbs, Priestley. Let's talk about the TNA. To TNA, the TNT Championship Belt.
We got a little TNA tonight, but we'll get to that. Yeah, what do you think about it?
It's the same design except for it's gold. It's not. It didn't change for me. I still think that it's bland.
I think it looks better from afar. Like, it's shinier, so like it's one of those, hey, look, I'm holding up a big shiny wrestling belt. But I think they didn't do enough to change it.
There's three things I don't like about it, and one thing that I absolutely love. The one thing I absolutely love is the thing we've talked about before. The fact that it's called the TNT Championship and they can get around with it saying it's Dynamite and all that other kind of stuff, love it. Brilliant. One of the best stroke of happenstances or planning or whatever it might be. Whatever happened, that's one of the best things that's happened in AEW this year is the fact that they called it that instead of something like the Legends Championship or some bullshit like that. But I don't like round titles as it is. Oh, by the way, on a recent Something to Wrestle, Pritchard had said that he, out of all the things he could have named for championship belts that he hates, he mentioned the tag titles.
Yep.
So I was like, good. At least somebody that's in like some kind of charge can be like, can we get rid of these goddamn titles? But
I wouldn't be surprised if they're already like there's new ones available.
Supposedly there are.
Plates. They don't have side plates.
Yeah, supposedly they've just been waiting to do it, but we'll see that when it happens. But I don't like round titles. I'm not a big fan of round things as it is when it comes to design. Like, if you look at the different logos for different things, you'll see like there's very few rounded edges to the things that I make, and something even like One to Watch where it's like you got a 0 or an O or like any kind of like a rounded shape. A lot of times I tend to go with less rounded options like that, like it's more octagonal or something. And a championship belt to me, like I like it more so when it's got some jagged edges to it, kind of like the WWE Championship does, or the Intercontinental Championship, like those squared off things. So I'm not a big fan of that, but I just hate that red strap more than anything else. And I feel like if you took this exact TNT Championship, and even though I don't like that it's round and it's a little basic and bland and all that, but if you just put it on a black strap, it looks 1,000 times better.
I would agree. But I also I'm not against colored straps. Like I think like there's the old Intercontinental title that has a green strap. I think that doesn't look too bad.
For a rare thing every once in a while, I'm okay with it. If it fits somebody's gimmick or something, but not as just like everybody holds this thing.
The thing about the TNT title, I don't like there's still nothing on the background other than it's the TNT logo. That's it. That's the center plate. Like, you could have done more with that. Eventually, if you do get off of TNT, say after a Warner Media shakeup or something, like, you're going to have to deal with that. And I don't know. I think it's just too plain in that regard. But it is what it is, and Cody has it still. He'll be defending it again at some point because he does it every week. And we'll see if somebody else gets it.
Well, let's talk about that. You know what? Let's actually put a pin in that because we'll round that out when it comes to.
I didn't go there.
Yeah, because we'll talk about the TV stuff and then we'll kind of loop back around. But I guess let's talk about some indie wrestling content. But before we do that, let me mention another plug here. If you want to pick up some kind of merchandise, the way that, like, you know, the indie shows tend to be, a lot of people come out there, they've got like their autograph signing things. You can pick up a t-shirt, that kind of thing like that. We don't have that because we're not an indie fed, but we are a website, and websites mean we've got merch shops. So we've got different design.
You took the long way around with that one, pal.
What's that?
You took the long way around with that one. Say, hey, go to the merchandise shop.
We've got Fanboys Anonymous, A Mango Tees, and Smark Out Moment are all on Redbubble and on TeePublic, and those have tons of different designs, and on each design you've got a whole wide variety of different products that you can put that design on. So if you start browsing the catalog and you see something you like as far as like the actual picture itself, then look at and see what they've got. You know, they've got t-shirts, they got mugs, they've got all sorts of different things like that. I always go with t-shirts and mugs, it seems. You know, I never really mentioned like I guess like tablet covers or you know, a lot of other things that are kind of like that. But then again, it's hard to keep track of all those things. I know there's like duvet covers and skirts and leggings. Every so often I'll get one of those kind of things, and it's always kind of strange to me, but whatever. Pick them up if you're interested. If not, I totally get it, but it's out there.
Where's the Barry the Elephant shirt? Barry
probably should be, shouldn't there? I should probably get Caroline to make some kind of a little elephant picture or something like that.
It's a giant purple elephant. Is that what we said it was?
Just in a room.
Yeah.
Just sup, Barry. And if you have any design ideas you'd like to see put out there, then toss that my way. Maybe we can get something working on there. If you're really like, man, I wish there was a T-shirt that was based off of the Barry the Elephant shirt, let me know. If you're gonna buy it, like I'll figure out something. And if you see a design out there that it's not applicable to whatever the merchandise product is or something like that, let me know, any like that kind of stuff. Just hit me up. Let's talk about some people returning to WWE. We've got Mickie James returned on Monday Night Raw.
Many people were sad to not have her in the Battle Royal today.
Actually, I'm jumping ahead. We never talked about that indie stuff.
Oh, well, damn it. There you go.
I was like, wait a minute. This feels like I missed something here. Yeah. Okay. Well, I did the indie thing to go around to a thing to not even go back around to the indie thing. Shit happens. All right. Let's talk about the indie stuff. We'll talk about the Mickie James stuff. And we talk about the TV stuff. That makes a lot more sense. That's why I didn't do that. Past me had a much better idea about how to go about these things. Anyway.
Good job, Past Tony.
Yeah. Present Tony, still struggling a little bit, but the indie stuff is that the WWE Network, we've talked about this a long time coming, where they were going to add some indie wrestling promotional, like crossover type of material, and that could be a part of the different tier services, and maybe that would be factored into the house show markets and all the other kind of things that goes along with those kind of things. But they have fully announced it now. I mean, we're going to get some stuff from Evolve, Progress, WXW, and ICW on the WWE Network coming soon.
So I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I did want to mention this. This was rumored for years, I feel like. That's not a stretch, right? This was rumored for some time.
You figure the WWE Network itself is 6 years old.
And I feel like these rumors have been for at least the last 2 years.
The network was advertised, 2 years before it came out, I think? Has it been that long? No.
Yeah, it was advertised as coming in 2012. They advertised it in like late 2011. And then we didn't get it until 2014.
So I know back then even a lot of people were talking about, hey, if WWE had bought out WCW and ECW, we're going to get those kind of things for sure, but maybe they're going to start buying out these other companies too. And maybe at some point WWE is going to buy out TNA and they're going to buy out ROH and we're going to get some kind of thing with New Japan. I
don't know how they haven't bought out the TNA library and just put that shit on the network. That's like the missing piece of their puzzle. That's AJ's career. That's Sting's whole career. That TNA library is valuable to them.
I feel like it's maybe so distant from them that they feel like it doesn't matter. Like the WCW thing, it was like, oh, that's our guys going over there. And they were working with Paulie, so like
it's just weird to me that this has been rumored for years, and just as all of these promotions have had to shut down or restructure because of abuse allegations, you're gonna put them on the network now. You're gonna put them on the network now. Where like they can't even really celebrate and hype that they're on the network because they're in the middle of this like, hey, we're gonna make good and we're gonna do better. I just find that as like, what awful timing.
Well, I will check out some of this maybe. I'm not super into indies. I'm not really like, if I don't know the person and there's no specific means to have to watch anything, like if people are like, man, you got to see this one match of this, then maybe I'll check it out. But if it's just sort of, I don't know anything about WXW. So if I just watched guy I don't know versus guy I don't know in a match for 20 minutes, it might be great, but I got other stuff I got to do. So I probably won't watch a bunch of this, but it's cool. More content. That's good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of content. I want more on the network. I don't know why the entire library of Wrestling Challenge and Superstars isn't just there already. I do know that we're getting into 93 Superstars now, but I'm like, just put the whole fucking thing on the network already. You own it. Like, why are you making people wait for the 90s and the 80s stuff? Just put it all on the network. and then come out with new content.
Maybe it's just a matter of not having enough people to like QC everything and stuff.
I guess so, but that's one of
Then
those
again,
things.
if it's like 10 years to do it, then it's kind of,
But I think it's exciting, Evolve stuff will be on there. You get to see a lot of like Drew McIntyre, some of the Adam Cole stuff, maybe even some Orange Cassidy. Like there's stuff like that if I was them, I'd really get cheeky and start hyping. Like, hey, we got this Young Bucks match, or hey, we got this Orange Cassidy match.
yeah.
I was something you did bring up to me. Yeah, they're gonna watch Aleister Black on the Indies and go, "What the fuck?" But like, people are gonna watch all these guys who have been buried on the main roster and just go, "Well, why aren't they using them then?"
Or they're gonna see somebody like Ricochet and go like, he's got long hair.
Yeah,
Like that's kind of strange.
that would be a fun one. Like, if you see like the really early Cesaro stuff, where he's got like long indie wrestler hair,
Right.
and he just looks like every other indie wrestler. That's always fun to me.
So that's something worth checking out at some point, but not going to be the type of thing where I'm like, once a day I'm trying to find a match on there or something like that. Have you been
Yeah,
following that they did WWE Timeline, by the way?
I did not watch the Miz and Brian one. I will watch the Brett and Owen one because it's Brett and Owen. I guess like it's literally just like, hey, here's the beginning, here's a match from the beginning, here's the middle, here's a match from the middle, and like you get a good hour out of that. That's good TV. I'm not mad at it.
It's another documentary thing where it's just like, here's an explanation of their feud.
And you get some full matches along the way.
I didn't watch the full thing of the Miz one, so I didn't see any matches. But
Yeah, I would watch the full Brett and Owen because it's Brett and Owen.
yeah,
And like there's just certain things, you know what I mean? There's just certain things that you watch and never get enough of.
let's toss out another plug here, fanboysanonymous.com. There's plenty of things that I can watch a lot and not get sick and tired of when it comes to movies that I love and stuff. So if you want to see more content on the Fanboys Anonymous geek culture stuff, the superhero spectrum, the some video game stuff here and there. I'm not a big gamer, so it's not on there.
DC just got gutted, and I really want an excuse to talk about that.
There's the Patreon for that. There's the merchandise shops. There's just showing more support for fanboysanonymous.com as it is. But the more that people go over to that site and the more that they show that they are interested in there, then the more that Rob and I'll take some time out and actually do more stuff. And there are lots of things that are on the back burner. I always say that, but it's like, hey, they're always on the back burner because I never get a chance to do them. But like, I do want to write up that article or do that podcast about how we need to figure out a different way to make the Mary Jane Watson character work for Spider-Man. I actually I couldn't sleep last night. Look at that. That's the thing. So I fell asleep at 2:30 in the afternoon. And in the meantime, I watched Tim Burton's Batman. And I was like, you know what? I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but I'm going to put that on or whatever. And I've got an idea for an article to write up about how they've used the wrong characters in the movie in some ways. So if you like that kind of stuff, check out Fanboys. And maybe there's going to be more stuff coming. I don't know. Let's talk TV stuff. That's kind of a part of Fanboys things, but we're talking wrestling here. The first thing of the week was the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament, the Deadly Draw semifinals. The gotta take a breath after that one. Not a full one though. God damn, still not breathing another one. We had Big Swole and Nicole Savoy, your girl, Lil Swole.
I popped huge. She needs to get signed. How long have I been saying? I said this shit. Was she the first or second Mae Young Classic?
She was in the first, I think.
Dude, that means I've been saying she needs to get signed for like 4 years. Fucking sign Nicole Savoy, especially AEW, because you need the female talent. Sign this woman. She could be your champion tomorrow.
She's got to get signed because of the whole Big and Lil Swole thing.
I'm not a big fan of the Lil Swole thing.
No, I mean they should be calling her Nicole Savoy.
But like whatever. Like I guess that's the thing that they were doing, and They're having fun with it. Cool, but sign her.
It seems like that's somebody who they would more than likely sign. It seems like if I don't even know why they haven't even announced it yet that they would have had Ivelisse and Diamante. They pretty much seem like they're signed.
Jericho said that like 3 weeks ago, and I was surprised when they weren't one of the first teams drafted. So it looks like they probably did this whole tournament in one night.
Maybe. But those two teams won. They beat Rache Chanel, who also seems like she's probably somebody who they'll end up signing, and
I
Leva
wouldn't
Bates.
sign her, but whatever.
And Rachel Ellering made her debut there, and she teamed with Dasha. So got to see Dasha wrestle for the first time in
I can.
maybe ever.
I made this remark, and I love Dasha, and I think it's cool that she got this chance. But like when she was drawing, and when she got the news that she would draw, she sounded like all the enthusiasm of a Nickelodeon teenage drag. Like, what? I'm gonna wrestle? This is awesome!
Yeah, that was
Like,
pretty bad.
I was like, wait, can we do this again? Like, what? She sounds like she's just figured out that she's going to prom. Like,
Yeah.
and then Rachel, you're gonna be my part. Like, I
I
was just
gotta
like,
say,
oh.
one of the things about this tournament that I've liked is the fact that you get to see some new people. But one of the things that I have fucking hated is that when they introduce you to these people, it's the stupidest thing because everybody draws a chip and immediately afterward, that
And then
one
they're like,
person is
oh,
right there.
you didn't know that somebody else has already picked this number.
And they
I
just
thought
happen to
that
be standing right there. And it's like, so you mean to tell me that like everybody that had a potential draw there was just standing waiting for that? No, come on. They need they need to figure out if they do this in the future in any other fashion, a better way to do this because it's as simple as I picked the chip, we'll find out who you team with later. And then you cut back and it's like, well, looks like this person is the one or whatever. But or you have a few people standing there and it's like who's the person that's they did it with every single person here except for the Nightmare Sisters and it's just the stupidest thing.
because they didn't think that went all the way through, because they had the Nightmare Sisters announced, and then they had Brandy tweet out, "Oh, I guess we have to draw because we can't break the rules," only for them to cheat and
I don't
be the
even
Nightmare.
dislike that. I just mean they didn't think out the idea of how stupid it would be for people to go it's a random thing but the person that I end up having is just standing right there like a
I
foot
thought
and a
it
half away
worked.
from me.
I thought it worked. Like, I enjoyed the Cameron surprise where it was like, oh hey, somebody already picked that, and oh shit, it's Cameron. But like Mel and whoever.
Every single person it's been grab the chip and the person comes right over and says yeah this is you're my partner, okay, every single one of them. It would have been fine if it was one, but that's just ridiculous.
With the idea being, okay, I get it. The partner has already drawn, and you're not showing us everybody. But why wouldn't you show us everybody, kind of thing?
I'll just I mean if you're drawing and it's like Big Swole draws and she gets Little Swole and Evilise draws and she gets Diamante and it's like so by that rationale, Dasha was like when she was drawing and she got Rachel, that Rache Chanel, for instance, was just standing right next to Rachel. Like she got blue instead. I guess I'll walk a foot and a half forward. Yeah, it's just that's stupid. But the Swoles won, Ivelisse and Diamante won. And if you believe the reports, there are these spoilers that are out there that
They're not. They can't be legit. But let's go into
I
them anyway.
I don't really buy into them 100%, but it's a possibility. You never know. I mean, some people have gotten these kind of things right in the past. So, spoilers. Supposedly, what happens in the semifinals and then in the finals is you've got Big and Lil Swole beat the Nightmare Sisters, and then Tainara Conchi and Anna Jay beat Ivelisse and Diamante, and then Big and Little Swole lose the finals. So the winners end up being Conchi and Jay. I don't know. I mean,
no, and
to
that
me, those final four, any of them winning makes some sense, but the one that makes the least sense to me are the ones that these people are reporting that wins.
right. Because, like,
I would have thought Ivelisse and Diamante would win that match.
here's my thing. What do the winners get?
They get to stand next to that cup, which the cup magically appears as soon as they do that because everything magically appears.
So you could you could make stars here, and Tnt Championship isn't the person I'm putting over unless you're gonna have her join Dark Order. And she and Anna Jay can just be like the mistresses of the Dark Order.
Well, the spoilers may or may not be true. If
the Nightmare Sisters aren't getting to the finals, I don't believe that either.
Right. It seems like that would have to be the case, but we're going to find out on the 22nd, or actually we'll find out on the 17th when the semifinals happen. But let's talk Dynamite.
Hold on. Who do you think is going to turn heel out of the two Nightmare Sisters?
They were very firmly doing the Alley thing, and then lately they've been doing a lot of the Brandy stuff. So
they both suck.
I'm just assuming it just goes back to Alley. That's a swerve. To just be like...
that's annoying, but yeah, I get it.
Because, I mean, ultimately what seems like it would have to happen is she goes back to being the Bunny and we get the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny against the Nightmare family, right?
I would very much enjoy that because they pulled her away from that with zero recollection.
And that's like, she's manipulating QT Marshall, and then it's like you got Marshall and Rhodes against Butcher, Blade, and Bunny, and that seems like the go-to thing. That's the logical course of action. It's a little bit predictable, but it's the logical way. And sometimes these companies, they go with the logical thing. Sometimes they purposely do something that makes no sense just to be like, haha, we got you guys. It's not actually whatever. This is going to lead to a feud with John Moxley or something. It's just kind of one of those things.
Anna Jay versus John Moxley. You're here first.
Yeah. Hey, if it happens, the episode of Dynamite that we saw this week, instead of talking about every little thing that happened, what are some things that stand out to you? Scorpio Sky failed to win a TNT title.
That was shocking to me, especially considering spoilers that suggest that...
we know Brody Lee is going to be fighting for it next.
Yeah, and when you read the spoilers, which are up on smarkatmoment.com, yeah, I would have just put it on Scorpio Sky.
The earmuffs, if you don't want to know the spoilers. The spoilers are that Brody Lee wins the championship with help from Eric Rowan, who just goes by his real name, Joseph Rude.
First of all, he already said he was going by Eric. What is it, Eric Redbeard?
Thought so.
The pirate? But I like Rowan and Harper together. They're a great team. But unless they're going to do something where, like, it's like a really, almost like a Scientology, like a pseudo-intelligence-based cult. Because Eric Rowan can't be a lackey. He's got to be like a second in command here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think that this report's true, and I would rather see him in a different company, too.
No, I'd rather see... AEW is officially taking Impact's place for me, whereas, like, listen, they're the number 2 company. I'd rather see everybody go there than have to try to find them on, MLW or Ring of Honor or something.
I just got a feeling that somebody like him, he might be more entertaining in, like, a New Japan. I won't be seeing it because I don't really watch New Japan, but you know what I mean?
I was going to say, like, you don't see anything outside of AEW or WWE, but I could see Eric Rowan being a good hand for AEW. But they got to use them, and if they did really sign them, they're running thin on these, like, hey, let's pick up these WWE people. Let's do it. Everybody's getting released and they're picking everybody up. It's a little concerning.
You know what's got me thinking about Retribution? Wouldn't it
What's
make
that?
sense out of anything if it's called Retribution and people are doing it like no WWE thing? Wouldn't it make out of everything that could possibly happen for it to be people that they had released?
Yeah, and I think some people could be like, I think Leo Rush could be. I think the Bennetts could be, but I don't know
Not
if
at
it'll
all
be.
for me when it was.
Well, no, because they tweeted a lot about how WWE did them wrong, and oh, they told me this. They told me it was good for my family. Uh, that kind of stuff.
Well, it's other stuff we got from Dynamite. We got Sheeta beat Heather Monroe. Orange Cassidy beat Chris Jericho. Tag Team Appreciation Night, FTR turned heel.
This is my favorite segment on the show.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that was my favorite too. I'm like looking around, seeing if there's anything else. Like, still haven't figured out why Matt Hardy pronounces Sammy's last name as Gawara. Seems like he always
because
says
he's
it.
fucking Matt Hardy, because he can do whatever he wants.
But yeah, I'm looking at this, and yeah, I think that was the best segment was the FTR thing. And more allusions too to this Four Horsemen type thing that they're seemingly building. It's gotta be. I mean, it's FTR, Shawn Spears, and Cody, right? They're gonna have to turn Cody heel and do that.
Hangman wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind Hangman.
But they got Arn and Tully, and Arn's associated with Cody. You
That's
know,
true. And Arn did kind of just walk away.
he walked away beforehand, like I know what's gonna happen. You know, so if they call it something other than the Four Horsemen, I'll like it better too. Like I liked how in TNA they all called it Fortune. To me, that was like, all right, don't go with Four Horsemen. You don't try to do Four Horsemen. Call it something else. Make it your own. But I don't know about like another four pun. Can't call it like foreskin or something. like,
Wow. Okay.
like, forewarned, foreshadowing. You know, like there's not a whole lot of what options that I could think off the top of my head. But yeah, the FTR thing that was kind of fun.
Something based on the word forward, like forward into the future, or something based on the word forward.
Just have the number
Forward.
forward. Could happen.
You never know. If it is forward, I want royalties.
That happened to then the John Moxley and Anna Jay feud. Then they're just like, all right.
I like it. I loved FTR turning heel. I want to see them wrestle the Rock and Roll Express because they're still wrestling. And damn it, if you're gonna do it with guys who would appreciate it. Let's see FTR versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Let's talk about some WWE stuff here. We've got the Monday Night Raw side of things. Dominic is now an official member of the roster, which made me tweet out, what's the over under? I think I put it at like 85% or something like that. That when Dijakovic goes up to the main roster, they go, well, we can't have two Dominics. So he's just going to be Dijakovic. It's a guarantee, isn't it?
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it, but it's one of those annoying things where you can tell why. It's because they would just go, can't have two names of Dominic, especially because they're spelled the same, you know?
Well, WWE keeps changing the way they want to spell Dominic Mysterio.
Now they've remained firm on this now. Now it's just with a K.
It's just the K? Okay.
Yeah. It got to the point where I've seen enough things and they've put it on the screen enough times where it's like they've picked, you know? It was with a C, with a K, with a CK.
Louis
Surprised they didn't put like an 8 in there.
Dominate.
He's a part of that. He took a hell of a beating with that kendo stick.
Oh, this is awesome. Great segment.
Easily the best thing that's happened with Rollins in months. Maybe almost a full year at this point, because that feud started at Survivor Series.
Wow. Tony, what a year, man.
The Kevin Owens feud, I mean, not the Mysterio one.
No, I know what you meant, but what a year.
Yeah, this whole Monday Night Messiah thing started the day after Survivor Series. So, long year. We still have a couple more months left. Imagine at the end of the year when we're going to be like, hey.
We're like, oh, August? Was that 4 years ago.
Be like, remember when we thought that SummerSlam was going to be good, or like, those kind of things.
Remember when we were like, "Hey, Dasha was kind of okay, and now she's the one that's champion." Like,
remember when we said that Anna Jay and John Moxley feud was going to happen? Yeah, it's the Dominic thing was pretty interesting. They really just whooped the shit out of him with those kendo sticks to the point
yeah,
where
they did.
I had that kind of range where, you know how sometimes like something you do it enough times, it goes from funny to not funny to funny to not funny to funny.
Yeah.
Where that was like, I don't care. They're just doing the kendo stick thing. And then it became like, oh wow, they're doing this for a while. It's actually kind of cool. And then it became, for fuck's sake, can you just move on to the next segment? And then it went back to, all right, I like this. They're not moving on to the next segment. If they would have done a full hour of this, I would have been like, you know what? I kind of like it.
And he looked fucked up. Like, his back looked like raw hamburger. This was great segment.
This was them saying, you want to pay your dues in one night? That kind of thing. And then, of course, a random match with Humberto Carrillo, because why not? Just waste more time with that. But we got the whole, this is what Retribution's done. Zelina Vega's, not a part of the whole poisoning thing. We beat that drum.
To me. That is concerning to me. Because, I'm beginning to think, I hope it's Retribution. Because if not, I'm beginning to worry that it's Dawkins.
Why Dawkins?
Because who's gonna poison him at this point?
Dana Brooke.
Well, okay, this goes back to when she slipped and hit her head.
Yeah, this is from Money in the Bank. This is a big payoff. Everybody keeps bitching and complaining that nobody likes long-term stories. Well, you know what? Once you interact with the Fiend, you change, and once you hit your head on the headquarters of WWE, then you start going, maybe I'll poison somebody in a few months. It's just, we've beaten this drum 1,000 times. Dawkins and Ford and Belair fought Zelina Vega's trio like 100 times this year, so who cares? MVP, that whole thing, it's the same kind of stuff. Just repeat, waste time, nothing really special. Mickie James came back though, and she is on Raw, the overloaded women's division part of the two, where we have no feuds.
We're gonna talk about that later.
We have like no feuds that we can do on SmackDown, and yet they keep bringing people on the Raw. What the hell?
Yeah, to the point where there was a, you know what? I will save it for the SmackDown talk. But yeah, Mickie James is back on Raw, and I like it. I'm not mad at it.
Glad Mickey's back. Not a huge fan of her feuding with Natalya and Lana. I could do without that. But Mickie looks great. So, I mean, when the hell has she not looked great?
Yeah.
Shout out to the winner of the first ever Sexy Superstars tournament.
And she beat everybody.
Yeah, she beat Maurice. She beat Tori. She beat Stacy. She beat Kimberly Page, who was one of my top ones. She beat AJ Lee. She beat Trish.
Yeah.
Mickie James is awesome, though. I'm glad that she's back. Still want her to win another title at some point. Still want her to go in the Hall of Fame, all that other kind of good stuff. Let's see. We had the Viking Raiders, Cedric Alexander, and Ricochet against Akira Tozawa and his ninjas. R-Truth was dressed up as a ninja, and he won the 24/7 title. Kind of fun, but we've seen it like in variations, different ways, so I don't think that they really should have taken that belt off of Shelton Benjamin just to have it on Tozawa to do this. Payne Royce beat Liv Morgan. Asuka beat Bayley, getting herself a title shot at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title. And let's skip ahead because we had a battle royal tonight on SmackDown to determine who fights Bayley at SummerSlam. And it's Asuka.
Yeah, as soon as I saw her show up, I'm like, oh shit, she won.
Right. They wouldn't have brought her in there without that, unless they would have done something where it would have been like against a babyface champion, and then the heel wins that, and then they start a feud with that afterward or whatever. But that's not the circumstances. So Asuka is going to fight Bayley and Sasha Banks, potentially in separate matches, maybe in some kind of different thing. Maybe they'll just combine them, but I'm assuming it's separate matches. And Your gut reaction was that they're going to merge. I don't think so.
They've got to merge at this point. Tony, how long have these belts been intertwined?
Since
basically WrestleMania
Charlotte
last year.
Since Charlotte beat Asuka.
Yeah. You had a brief period where they were separated again, but like even then, as soon as Sasha came back last year, she's basically been paired with Bayley.
Actually, technically speaking, if you go back to Survivor Series before that, so since Survivor Series before Becky had won the WrestleMania match.
There you go.
But I don't think it's going to come to a merge. I think that this is going to be something that, obviously, we'll talk about it a little bit more when it comes to this SummerSlam predictions. But I think Asuka wins one title and loses the other match.
I think this is going to lead to Bayley and Sasha finally splitting because we know that they're defending the belts at Payback, and it has to end it has to end at Payback, right? Like,
well, the next thing is Clash of Champions. So maybe they do something like this. I hope that this isn't the case, but maybe we get like they drop one of the titles, probably the Raw one, I would think. Asuka wins that. They drop the tag titles. I'm assuming probably to Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott.
I'm okay with it.
And then that splits up Bayley and Sasha to the point where Sasha says, I'm going to fight you for the SmackDown Women's title. And then that happens at Clash of Champions. At that point, they're going to have the Amway Center stuff figured out more.
I'm almost to the point of like, you've held out this long. Can we at least get to Survivor Series? Can we at least do a big four with these two? Like, you've been teasing it for 2 years, 3 at that point. Like,
well, Survivor Series, you're going to get the whoever beats Asuka, probably Shayna Baszler, against Sasha Banks if she's the SmackDown Women's Champion. Because that's champion versus champion, the whole thing.
That's true. One of the things I didn't like at SmackDown tonight, Bayley tried to cost Asuka the match, but at that point, she's fighting Shayna, and I didn't like that she was more comfortable fighting Shayna just to not have to fight Asuka.
Yeah.
But small thing, because why didn't Shayna get an entrance?
Shayna did get a spot on Raw Underground. We didn't talk about that. Raw Underground was a little bit underwhelming this week. Not as underwhelming as Retribution, but Shayna beat 3 people. One of them's Emily from the NXT Performance Center crew.
Who was the chick in the blouse?
The 3 women were Emily and Zulis, I think is how you pronounce her name. I'm not entirely sure. She's in the Performance Center crew. And then there were 2 other ones. I'm blanking on the names of them right now, but they are indie wrestlers that they had brought in like before. So
why was she wearing like this, hey, I'm just going to shop at Home Goods blouse to an underground fight club is what I'm asking. Like,
because there's no rules.
Who was like, yo, this is it, get in there and you'll do fine against this former MMA fighter?
We got that. We got Dabakato. We got
Dabakato. He took a man by the.
I thought we were doing some Macarena thing there. Something like, oh, Dabakato. Hi.
Oh shit, that's a t-shirt.
The old nut shot.
He the nut shot nothing. He fucking took the guy's nuts in his hand, just squeezed. It's like, okay, just till the guy passes out and then punches him in the face.
No rules.
Babatunde is big.
Yeah, and that guy got smaller. Um,
Yeah.
we also had Arturo Huas, guy we were talking about before, as potential like work well with that. So that's cool to see that that's the case. And Rick Moss popped up and did stuff on there. That was a little bit surprising. I didn't think that they'd really necessarily go with him, but
Where are they going? Now it's like, all right, 2 weeks in, you need to establish where are we going with this. Is this like a
mhm.
prize fighter thing? Are we gonna get a Raw Underground belt? Is this gonna turn into like the revitalization of hardcore wrestling? Like, where are we going with this?
I feel very underwhelmed, and I hate to
As
like write it off already and be like, oh my god, it's only been 2 weeks, give them a chance. But I think if they don't have a better game plan next week, it's going to come off as the fact that they have no game plan means that they have no direction and it's going to go nowhere. You know,
mm, I I really want them to bring back the dancers, and Liv Morgan is also in favor of them bringing back the dancers, and I'm okay with that because it did give them a different feel. You know, why not? You've got so many women on the Raw roster. You can afford to have two no names on the roster, or not even on the roster, just like two no named actresses dancing. Whether dancing poorly or not is neither here nor there. It's just it gave it a different feel. And if you're already going to strip that part of it, then you know you're already saying, okay, this isn't working. Let's hit the the reset button. And I don't want that. I want to see more underground from Raw Underground.
what if they all have blouses?
No, like that was just so weird. Like that really, it looked like she didn't belong, and that's hard to do when it's a brand new concept. And it just looked like you stumbled into a club and you're in some kind of movie. You know what I mean? Like I'm not supposed to be here, but I guess I'm a fighter now.
The last thing on the Raw side of things was Randy Orton punting Ric Flair.
And you know I was a fan of this.
Yeah, Orton's been killing it this year.
I told you, like they had me ready to cry when he's like, and you're right, and I'm sorry. I am selfish, but I want you to break my record because I was in a coma and I got out of it, and I just want to tell people that I love that, and I'm just like, this is such a good segment, you know?
It's so strange that like there's something like that, and then there's something like I might as well skip ahead and kind of mention it now that Mandy Rose is going to fight Sonya Deville in a hair versus hair match, where it's like this is good storytelling, and it gives you some stakes, and it actually emboldens character, and it follows logic in a way that you're like, who's writing this and then writing the other garbage that happens, where it's like, who's the person that goes, man, we should have Ric Flair go out there and he should talk about how he's getting up there. Well, he's already up there in his age and he never knows, if tomorrow is going to come. And in the time he has left, he wants to make sure that everybody knows he loves them. And he wants to take on this kid who's kind of like a son to him. And he wants to do this, whatever. Then that evil bastard's going to punt him. And we can even get around it to not have to have him get punted because we could do the whole thing with the lights and stuff, which is gimmicky, but it's like, yeah, it makes sense. And like, let's do that to make him the most evil person in the world or whatever. And then they're going, and my second idea is Otis comes out with the briefcase and he's like, hey, I'm still fucking here. you know?
Well, I enjoyed SmackDown more than I thought I would, but this Ric Flair segment had me near tears. Ric Flair is so good on the mic. Randy Orton is so good on the mic. It was all perfect. Like I couldn't think of a better story with both of those things.
I mean, we still have a few months left, so who knows what happens during that time, but there pretty much can't be a better heel this year than Randy Orton. Like, he's gonna win that best heel award.
Unless fucking Retribution magically.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, all right. Jumping ahead to that a little bit, that was much better on SmackDown than it's been on either last week's SmackDown or Raw.
All 4 episodes so far, I didn't like it. The one thing I liked that they did was the Molotov cocktail.
That is how it started. I like that, and I liked tonight on SmackDown. They seemed a little more like sizable, and I enjoyed that. And I think I'm not willing to give up on it yet because it was less dorky tonight than it has been.
I still wasn't a fan of it. And on Raw, they're like, "We flipped a car, woo, yeah, woo."
Yet, see, like that segment to me was dorky because then they took way too long getting the girl off the car, and it just looked like these are kids.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was said tonight on SmackDown. We're jumping all over the place. Sorry, scatterbrained episode of the Hot Tags. But Michael Cole said tonight they're hiding behind current events to cause chaos, and I'm like, just say the word Antifa for fuck's sake. Like, wow, you literally said they're hiding behind current events to cause chaos. Like, tell me more about what you think about our current social climate.
I mean, that's a thing. We didn't get them on NXT because I guess this group of rebel rousers that just
They
everything
have no
is,
beef with NXT.
they've got no problem with it all. The NXT's cool. It's ridiculous. But Karrion Kross beat Danny Burch. Then Keith Lee came out. He's got a contract. He gives it to Karrion Kross as like, "Hey, fuck you, pal. I'm gonna beat your ass at Takeover." And Karrion Kross goes, "Here's a fireball in your face."
Amazing.
That's pretty ridiculous.
So bad it's good kind of thing.
But even funnier afterward is they go, "Well, we're gonna get some updates on this kind of thing." In the meantime, on the right side of your screen, we're gonna get Killian Dane against Drake Maverick. Like he's gonna eat him alive. And that ends with the Undisputed Era saying, "Fuck these two guys, I want to cut a promo." I thought that was really strange.
I
But
like the Undisputed Era no matter what. And they almost fucked this up, like, what was it, 2 years ago? When they had Roddy, like, mad at Adam. And no matter what, they're always together. And I think that saves them. Because if they were to just wake up one day and be like, okay, they're breaking up, it would kill everything that they have worked for.
Cole cut a great promo about McAfee, invited him to do the whole face-to-face next week. That'll happen. And they'll, do some kind of a scuffle, and then we'll have that match. Santos Escobar beat Tyler Breeze. Mia Yim beat Indy Hartwell. Good little continuity too about Mia Yim being like, "Hey, I've been checking up on Keith Lee because he's my boyfriend and all. I gotta go do a match. I'm a little scatterbrained myself and all that." That's again proper writing. Like,
Yeah, like, I will say this week of TV, better than some of the other things I've seen.
it's true. Worse in some ways, but better in some ways. Bronson Reed beat Damian Priest. He's on a win streak.
I mean, hey guys, let's be real here. At the start of this year, I told you Bronson Reed, number 10 overall draft pick, had an eye towards the future. Last year, I said Sonya Deville would be the breakout star. Can I not pick him or what? I have killed it.
I guess we're gonna see, but he's winning a lot. So the most momentum that he's ever had. His biggest, most important match coming up. Pretty cool. Aaliyah and Mercedes Martinez beat Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter by pinfall. Then we got Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart attacking the Robert Stone brand afterward. So we're either going to get that tag match or we're going to get Martinez versus Ripley.
I'd be all right with the tag match. I
Me
felt
too.
like they had a good chemistry as a team, and suddenly, and this is what booking does. Suddenly, Aaliyah looks like a star.
Yeah. She looks like she's a bigger deal, yet she's still the one that could get beaten in that tag team because Mercedes is the one that you're pushing as the bigger deal. And that's the way that it should go because Aaliyah's smaller and she's more of a chicken shit character than
And
Martinez.
if you need to beat the baby faces, you have Shotzi, who can always survive because she's an underdog babyface.
Yep. And that way, Rhea Ripley doesn't need to take the pin. And that's the better case scenario, I think, is if they go with the tag team match at TakeOver. We had 6 matches the last TakeOver, so they might add that. I mean, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them right now. So we got room for 2 more.
Right.
Doubt that we're going to get a tag team title match. So if we do the tag match with the Robert Stone brand, then we still have room for another match. I mean, at that point, who knows what fills that gap. But we also
I
had
think it's Thatcher and Balor.
yeah, it could be probably that. It kind of depends on who gets that whole last couple of spots, because next week we're gonna get Ridge Holland versus Johnny Gargano, and apparently Johnny Gargano takes a bit of a rough spot there, lands on his head, so that'll be
Yep.
interesting to
Stop the
see.
whole taping for a second.
Hopefully he's not injured or anything. And Cameron Grimes beat Kushida and the mystery person, who was Velveteen Dream, making his return. And then we got a setup of Velveteen Dream and Finn Balor. So it's kind of interesting because Dream shows up as a babyface, technically speaking. Of course, all the allegations and stuff makes him to where a lot of people have no interest in him being a babyface or being on their screen. It's allegations still. That's something to get into when we would know more information, if we ever do know more information. But at least WWE seems to think that it's okay to bring him back. So we have to go with the idea that maybe that's not what it is. I don't know. So in the future, for anybody who's wondering, by no means is anybody on this site or this podcast condoning anything like that whatsoever. That should be a guarantee. Yet, if it's an allegation and there's no 100% proof or something like that, you can't treat somebody as if, it's the innocent until proven guilty type of thing, too. I don't know. But Velveteen Dream, as a performer, is back. He came in as a babyface and turned heel because he just started beating the shit out of Kushida. And then they had Finn Balor come out. Balor, for a while now, has been in this tweener kind of situation. It seems like they're going with him being babyface in that match.
Balor has just been kind of going through the motions on NXT, and I don't understand why.
You know what he's doing? You ever see somebody at like a buffet, or you do this yourself, where instead of actually wanting to eat anything, they get a little bit of everything and they barely eat any of it?
Yep.
That's what he's doing. He's going,
It's
oh, it's a piece of chicken. I'm going to have one bite and then throw it away. And that's, this is some kind of fish. All right, I'll take a bite of that and whatever. And
I've done that because I almost feel obligated to do that, because otherwise you're like, if I'm just gonna get the steak, I could have just gone to a steakhouse.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're talking buffet strategy is, we could do a whole thing on this on Snack Talk, but this is what you do, right? This is the best way of going through a buffet. You scope out the joint. You look at everything you're interested in. You start off with a plate of completely unknown things, if you can. And that way you try new things, you see what you like, whatever it is. The second time around, you go with staples and you kind of fill yourself up a little bit, like I got like a Chinese buffet around me. I know for a fact that their coconut chicken, it's great. Second time around, I'm getting coconut chicken. First time around, I'm getting some different sushi, different kind of stuff like that. But then you go with what I call the all-star plate, where you go, these are the things I like the best, and that's your third plate. Assuming you can't do more than 3 plates, I usually tap out at 3. Your fourth and final thing is your dessert. But you try things. That's the whole point of a buffet. You gotta try a little bit. But there's some people where they'll get like, a plate full of this and a plate full of that, and they're like, I'll have one noodle, and then I'll move on and not eat it, whatever. And you're just kind of like, you're just wasting food. And Balor's
I
kind of
think
wasting some feuds here. Like, he could have had a really solid feud with Johnny Gargano. It ended up being one match.
I think the first of all, Brazilian buffet is better than any other, because just the endless amount of meat shoveled at you is
If you
fantastic.
smelled the farts that I had after the one time that I did there, you would say it's not.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure, because it's just, how can all of that mix well in your stomach? But that's kind of like Finn Balor right now. He's not mixing well with the NXT brand like we thought he would. We're like, oh, this will be great. And he's just sort of been like this weird thing. Finn Balor is tomatoes. I like tomatoes. I like them. Good salad. You have some tomatoes. Good pasta dish. But like, sometimes not everything needs a tomato, and I've been feeling like Finn Balor is very much a tomato.
If I titled these podcasts the way that I used to title the All Talk Show, where it would be like some random quote from the thing, like looking for a meatball parm or like things like that, then Finn Balor is a tomato might be the name of this episode. Just be like, check
There you
out the
have it.
most recent hot tags where we talk about buffet etiquette and Mickie James.
We've jumped all over the place. We went from like Kamala passed away, that's sad, to high school senior photos and
where we talk about NXT and the most recent firings of AEW and Adam Sandler movies, and that's what you get. It's only 1:30 in the morning too. I'm not all that tired, so I can't even blame it on that. But that's our list of things. And then we got SmackDown, where we had some Retribution stuff. They attacked Big E and John Morrison at the beginning of the show. I liked how King Corbin was like, all right, I'll be the leader. Like that kind of thing.
I half expected Roman Reigns to come out of nowhere and punch him in the face.
I kind of thought that something like that might happen too. Just sort of like, so everybody turns around and goes, that's our leader. And then it's Roman and he's just like, hey, locker room leader, I'm the big dog. Fuck everybody else. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
wonder if he's any closer to coming back.
I mean, if we don't know who's in Retribution as it is right now, and then it doesn't seem like that would necessarily build towards anything, but at some point, Retribution's going to have some actual people in it, and that group's going to have some kind of a leader, and that leader is going to have to fight Roman. It's just going to happen. Be kind of interesting, though, if it was Roman, you know?
They did something with The Miz tonight. Were you paying attention to that?
Where he was like, he kind of like left in a weird
That
way.
both times he was like, I'm not gonna get in their way. What the fuck? Like, oh, sorry, John. I was on the phone with Marie. So I was like, I wouldn't be mad at it if Miz was a member and he was like, I main evented WrestleMania 10 years ago. What the fuck? Like, I would not be mad at that story at all.
You know what they couldn't pull off, but it'd be interesting if they could?
What's that?
They don't know the members. Like, since everybody's wearing masks and stuff, the people that are in Retribution are literally just like anybody joins it at any time. And some people might be like, yeah, you know what, tonight I want to raise some hell. I'm pissed off because I lost that match and that's bullshit. And then another night they're just in the back and they're like, oh fuck, like all the other Retribution people are here. You don't even know that I'm part of the group. Like, they would never be able to pull it off. I wouldn't even attempt to try to pull it off if I were a writer there, but it'd be kind of interesting.
It would be an interesting move. I'd watch that.
Like, the whole like Hail Hydra whisper.
Yeah.
Like if it'd be one of those kind of things where it's just like, so you down with Retribution? It'd be like, this guy just said he's with. No, I didn't say that. I'm trying to make the Retribution guys crack. You're so fucking dead. Kind of thing, like Hail Hydra. But like, they did a little bit with Sheamus too. Him talking about like, oh, they're not gonna attack me. They know that I'm not afraid of them, like that kind of thing. Sheamus is now doing this, like he's got his different gear and stuff like that. So
yeah, I kind of like the little. I'm gonna just dress like I'm always going to the bar.
Like he's one of those old timey fighters that holds their fists in those weird ways. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty cool.
What else is there? I mentioned this already, but the just random. Hey, we're gonna have fans.
Yeah.
What?
It's very much. It's Christian. It's just. It's payback. We're gonna have fans.
Mandy and Sonya cut great promos.
Yeah, big fan of that.
Doing a hair match has to end with Deville getting her head shaved. I'm not a fan of that, but it'll make her look like more of a badass.
Yeah, I mean, you take a pretty girl and you make her shave her head and kind of start going down in that direction. It's like, it's a shame, but at the same time, it'll be good for her character. It's still funny to me that they act like, oh, like she cut Mandy's hair and like you,
and that suddenly meant that like, oh my god, she's hideous.
right?
Don't ever look at her again. That's like, Man, he looks
Like,
fantastic.
like there are people that would pay hundreds of dollars to have the haircut she's got going on right now. Like bullshit.
Yeah,
Come on. This is the type of
just
shit where people
rocking it.
post it on Facebook and they're like, "Is my hair super cute?" Like that whole thing. Like,
yeah.
oh, it's so cute. Bullshit. New hair, new me. Hashtag. Or the what, like short hair, don't care. That kind of. Stop tweeting things like that, posting things, everybody.
No. I'm gonna go the other way here and say, please do that. If it beats, just being mad at everybody all the time.
Oh, I mean,
Please.
given the circumstances, I'd rather see another felt cute might delete later than somebody being like, oh, I hate this type of people or something, like.
Exactly.
Yeah, if that's the way to stop you from doing that, then take your fucking mirror pictures. I don't care.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Got the Battle Royal. We had. I thought it was kind of funny in the Battle Royal, by the way, that Dana Brooke's like, "Hey, I'm still in this," and then it's like, "No, you're not." Just gonna move her away.
Well, hold on, because I wanted to get into this. You have a battle royal, right? And it's interesting the women that they had do the entrances and the women that they did not. So they did an entrance for the Iconics, Asuka, obviously, and Tegan and Shotzi. But like Bianca and Shayna
Shayna.
Baszler and Naomi, who they pissed off so many people. They gave Lacey an entrance and not Naomi, which again upset a lot of people. But then they eliminate Naomi, and Corey Graves says, "Yeah, no hashtag is gonna win this battle royal for you," and it's like, "Oh, you motherfuckers!"
Just go full blown heel. Just grab the microphone and be like, "You see that, you geeks? She lost." Like it's just like,
keep fucking tweeting. She's gonna lose again.
you know what she deserves? She deserved to get knocked out of the match. That's what happened. Check out my podcast. Drink my girlfriend's wine. Yes. But that took us into Sheamus.
Where is Carmella?
She's just not there.
Doing a
She
podcast.
did the R-Truth game show, if that counts.
So did Roman Reigns.
Yeah. And Fandango and Tyler Breeze had a decent thing the other day. It was kind of funny.
So does that mean that can we start assuming this is smart guy moment? I can assume whatever the fuck. Can we start assuming that Carmella might be COVID susceptible at the very least?
Maybe. Or maybe she's just kind of like, you know what? Nah. You give me an option, I'm going to say no.
That's true.
She could have an injury. I mean, like, there's a lot of different things. She might have, like, a family member that's susceptible and she wants to stay away. Like,
it's pretty scary when you really think about it, man.
Yeah. Shorty G lost to Sheamus. Later on, Shorty G was apologizing to Matt Riddle. He's like, "Hey, sorry, I'm kind of being a dick here." And then King Corbin just blasted Riddle from behind. That's so. Shorty G's got new theme music. It's pretty generic. Still going by Shorty G.
Yep, but Corbin keeps on insisting on calling him Chad.
I hope they just go with that.
I'm noticing that, but he seems a little conflicted right now.
Maybe they'll combine the efforts. He's going to be Shorty Chad instead.
Chad Shortman. He's a short man.
Chad G. That's such a bland thing. Chad G. We had the AJ Styles segment. He brought out Joseph Park. So now I had to add him down as the list character for the year.
Did he call him Joseph Park or did you call him Mr. Park?
I think he called him Joseph.
That's amazing.
So he has the phenomenal intercontinental statistics system to determine who can get a title shot, and it's nobody, which I thought was great. I was like, that if that would have been the end of the segment, I would have been cool with it too. Just him to be like, nobody, fuck you, I'm AJ Styles. All right, they don't want none, like you.
It's piss that I just, that's a Vince McMahon. It's funny. It's piss. But why is it piss? Because piss is funny.
Did you ever see the movie Four Rooms?
No.
Not a movie that most people would like. Not a movie that almost anybody would like. But there's a line in the movie that just made me think about it. It's fucking Cristal. Everything else is piss. It's just...
I thought that this segment was brilliant. I enjoyed Abyss's faces as the Joseph Park character. He just stays looking just scared at all times, and it's great because he's 7 foot tall almost. Jeff Hardy comes out again, says he's defeated his demons, and now he needs the Intercontinental Championship because it was the first title he ever won. Yeah, they're gonna fight next week instead of at fucking
SummerSlam or Payback.
So let's talk about this. Why is that a current trend?
It's got to be that they think big match on TV equals people tune in. Let's not do everything on the pay-per-view. Let's try to split it up.
Why specifically AJ Styles?
Yeah, that's a trend with AJ. That's definitely a thing.
Because he beat Bryan to win the thing. He beat Riddle and Metalik. And now Jeff Hardy. It's all on SmackDown. Why?
I'm also thinking there's a very good chance, based off of the way that they've been doing things lately, that they have this match on SmackDown next week, and then they do a rematch at one of those two pay-per-views.
I think they skip SummerSlam, do it at Payback.
I think so too. But I like that Hardy signs his name and then they try to erase it and it's in permanent marker.
Permanent marker. What up? Oh, this is good WWE comedy. Like, this has been some spot on stuff. AJ Styles, kind of like Daniel Bryan, shouldn't be the guy who's very good at the comedy, but they're so good at the comedy.
We had then the Lucha House Party steals the championships for a
Not as
moment.
good at the comedy.
Not as good. Grand Metalik beat Shinsuke Nakamura. A little bit of help from Kalisto returning. Kalisto's looking pretty good.
He looks tremendous. I was a betting man. I'd say they stay with the company.
It kind of seems like it at this point, which is so weird because they were very adamant about not wanting to be a part of this company.
Well, maybe they don't want to go anywhere with COVID, you know? Like,
that could have changed it all up. That's true. Still weird that they wouldn't have released some of those people in the mix, you know? I would have thought that they would have sacrificed one of them or something if they got rid of as many people as they did. And you got rid of Chioda, like, you know, it's weird. Let's see, that. Big E and John Morrison. Big E won by submission again.
I love, first of all, love the stretch muffler with Big E. More retribution. They locked the guy in the bathroom while he was taking a shit. I thought that was fantastic. Like, instead of beating the guy up in the toilet, they just left him alone but locked him in there. They're doing this thing where their logo is the spray painted WWE logo, and you know, like the no WWE, kind of like a V for Vendetta deal. I like it.
Still not a big fan.
I'm willing to give it a chance. I think as soon as somebody takes their mask off and we start to see who are the people and why they're doing it,
why they're called Retribution.
Yeah, like, again, I think it could be Evolve people. I don't know. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
And our last part of the night was earlier in the night. Alexa Bliss had a little bit of an interview and this carried on over. She was talking about how her friendship with Braun Strowman came about, how maybe there would have been a chance of some kind of romantic relationship because they care about each other, whatever. And Braun Strowman, bald now.
Why is this the longest running storyline in WWE?
Like, no, it's not Bayley and Sasha Banks.
Oh, well, but of all the things, they stay with the continuity here. Even Bayley and Banks are all over the place. With Braun and Alexa, they're like, nope. Every time they interact, it's clear that they like each other. It's like, it is kind of strange.
But he comes out and he says, essentially, Bray Wyatt, come out here, I'm going to fuck you up. And Alexa Bliss says, dude, the hell? And comes around to the idea that Braun Strowman says, and this was a weird, I don't know why they worded it this way. Everyone who comes in contact with the Fiend changes, including you. By the way, I'm going to be, he doesn't say it this way, but it's like, but I'm the guy who's being a dick about it. So she hasn't changed. And he's blaming her for him being. It's just I don't know.
I
I am
think,
very much in the boat of what you had suggested. I think that they're trying to do a double turn, and I think that they're going to try to have Alexa be the Harley Quinn to a Jokerish Bray Wyatt.
and I'm good with it
I don't know if I am or
because,
not.
and I like where Braun Strowman is at. It makes kind of sense because they do always go with the Fiend changes you, but they get like they don't go all the way. They never do. Like Seth Rollins burned down the Firefly Funhouse, but then just went back to being, yeah, I'm Seth Rollins. Brian got, more malicious, more intense, but then went right back to going, yes. Like they always do the Fiend changes you, but you know, not really, just for like the next 2 weeks. And I'd be okay with Alexa just being the Harley Quinn to the Fiend's Joker. And Braun Strowman kind of goes crazy because he realized, hey, this girl I thought was great is actually aligned with this son of a bitch.
I am just. I don't know how they'll pull it all off. I don't know if that's something that's going to be great or it's going to be awful and they'll ruin what could have been a good thing or what. But it's intriguing, so I'll give them that. And that's essentially, I mean, there's 205 Live and there's whatever, but like nothing happened crazy on Dark, nothing happens on 205 Live, that
Well,
kind of thing.
let's talk about this real quick. Do you know that SmackDown was rated TV 14?
No, didn't notice.
Yep, TV 14. I don't know if that's because they're like, hey, we're going to do this thing where Braun, you know, throws Alexa, or if it was like, hey, we're gonna do this retribution stuff, or if they're just slowly easing their way into like TV 14.
Somebody backstage is just kind of like, it's going to be TV 14 for this episode. Billy Kay. And then just like, one of those kind of things just be like, wait, what? What happened? No, I didn't notice
uh,
that though. I'd love to see them go into some higher stuff like that though.
yeah, I think it's a fair point, and nobody thinks about this, but maybe we're at an era where the kids who they switched back for with with like the Nexus and stuff, maybe they're teenagers now, and maybe you are growing with your audience, kind of like how, hey, we had the Hogan people, but they grew to want Stone Cold too often.
The most profitable thing out there when it comes to the widest range of an audience is always PG-13. Now that's not PG-13 in TV, it's TV-14, but it's the same thing. Where it's enough that you can push the limits and do things that are serious. You have action movies where it's like, people die, people say shit. You get one F-bomb, that kind of thing. You have sex scenes, but you don't show really anything too risque,
Uh,
whatever like that. You're not getting like, uh, some kind of scene like from Scary Movie where they shot up into the air, that kind of thing. But like, that's the most versatile thing because a PG-13 movie doesn't have to be gory. It doesn't have to be dealing with like drugs or something like that, but it can. And it's like, well, kids, this is a little bit closer to real life and it's not, rated R, rated X or whatever for the sake of it. But once you get to where it's like G and PG, you're really hammering down that you can't do a lot of things. And there's not a whole lot of things that are in that spectrum that people like to watch unless they're a little kid. Like Pixar movies are great, because they're Pixar, not
yeah,
because they're a little kid movie. There's plenty of little kids movies and they're not Pixar. They're good because they have good writers making good stories. You turn on some kind of like Caillou or Dora type shit that's like not well written and it's for little kids, that's garbage. So it doesn't matter how much you say the dreaded phrase, which I hate with a passion. It's quote fun for the whole family, which just means little kids can
you
watch it and you're not going to complain.
yeah, and you can like sit them in front of the TV and walk away, and that's why it's fun for the whole family.
Right. Where, hey, this is not like, it's not having little kids trying to count. So your older kids are going to think that it's cool too, whatever. It's no, the fun for the whole family is when you get into like, here's this Christian rap type thing, and it's like, that's cool. It's because it's rap, right? Like that kind of. But
I
like,
will say though, Pixar movies genuinely fun for the whole family.
yeah, that's because they just write stuff well enough, and they still just kind of. I mean, like Aladdin characters die in Aladdin and stuff, and that's not Pixar, it's Disney, but like, PG-13, that's the way to go. And yeah, not every single outlet out there wants to market towards a PG-13 audience, but when you've got a product like this, you got to target it towards that because that's the people that are tuning in. That's the demo. That's the whole point.
I'm a big fan of the fact that they seem to be taking steps towards a more edgy product, and I'm hoping like maybe in 6 months to a year we're finding ourselves at least enjoying what we do.
Well, in the course of the next few weeks, when we start getting those fans on those LED screens, maybe we're going to see a bunch of people flashing and some other things that are not TV-14.
Yeah, like people, somebody is going to try to have sex on these LED. Sorry, it's just a
Look,
thing. It's gonna happen.
If Caroline and I have to do it, I mean, it's just.
I mean, wait. So you're saying we have your word that you're willing to do this? You're willing to be that guinea pig?
I'm not saying no. There's more of a chance that if I get on there that you're just going to see a screen that says smarkoutmoment.com.
Sitting there with a sign that says "Smark Out Moment." Please donate to the Patreon.
Which was a reminder of the Sign Me Up initiative. Remember how you used to be able to bring a sign because you used to be able to go places? And if you brought a sign that said Smark Out Moment to it, you sent me a screenshot of it or a picture of yourself at the venue or whatever like that, that I'd give you a shout out on the website on the podcast. Well, if you're able to join in on one of those Zoom call things and you're on there and I hear Smark Out Moment at any point, you're getting a shout out.
Yeah. Maybe even a free t-shirt. Maybe even a free t-shirt.
Probably at that point. I'll probably try to figure something out. But yeah, the hot tags, those are that. I gave a lot of the plugs. Yeah, those are that. That's the thing. Things are that, left and right.
I know you plugged the Patreon already, but I'm going to plug the Patreon. Patreon.com/fanboysanonymous. If you're out there and you're listening and you feel so inclined to donate to the Pick Your Poison tier, Tony and I have talked about doing Batman villain Mount Rushmore. Let us do it. Somebody out there.
We all know Joker's one of them. Who are the other three?
Yeah.
Unless you were like, it's Birthday Boy and Nocturna.
King and...
Yeah, Condiment King and Orca. There you go.
And Father Time.
I'm a big fan of Clock King.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. What else you got? Do you want to plug?
WrestleZone.com and Fightful.com. Hey, you want to find out what's going on with the Velveteen Dream? Go to Fightful.com, Fightful Select. Maybe there's an update for you. You want to find out what's going on elsewhere? Go to WrestleZone.com. We aggregate all the good shit. I was on the Rest Friends podcast with Iridian Fierro and Teddy Chavez, and I had a good time. I was kind of the middle ground. I was the only guy on the podcast, and just hearing their take on everything and getting that different perspective, it was fun, and I was able to provide my own perspective. And I would advise you all check out the Rest Friends podcast because they're putting in a lot of work. And I was very impressed. What else do I do? Instagram and Twitter at Dude Felice, and check out the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast with myself and Kellen Wiggins. You should be getting episode 9 tomorrow, and we're on the road to SummerSlam 2002. That'll be coming to the Patreon Darkcast tier, $10 or more. And yeah, you'll be getting that and our review of Global Warning.
Global Warning thing. I think it's episode 8 that's coming out tomorrow. You guys are going to be recording 9, if I remember correctly. But all the stuff that's on there is on the page on smarkmoma.com. It's all on the playlist on the YouTube channel. You can find it pretty easily. You just Google Paul Heyman's SmackDown podcast, and you'll be able to come across it. That's the next thing you're going to be hearing from us. Then we're going to most likely be doing Guest 5's top rope list. Thank you again, Guest 5, for the Patreon for that. Then we're going to be hitting you with the 2 pay-per-view point predictions the podcasts. And then we're going to be going through, of course, the TakeOver 30 post-show and then the SummerSlam post-show. And then look at that. We go right after that into pay-per-view point predictions for the Payback thing. And then...
Look at that. We go right back into pay-per-view review and then right back into pay-per-view predictions for All Out.
All Out right after that. And then we get a blank week in September around the 9th. And then we go right into the Clash of Champions thing. We go into whatever. But somewhere along the way, we might be doing some kind of picks for something.
It's some kind of normal, Tony. Like, I'm not... I mean, remember last year when it was like, oh man, all we're doing is pay-per-view points?
Yeah, we're getting back to the status quo, I guess. And then if October 4th, and then... so on and so forth. But maybe that's going to be the name of the 4 group, so on and so forth.
Listen, you heard it here earlier. It's going to be a forward. That's going to be the 4 Horsemen group in AEW. Anna Jay versus John Moxley. That's all actually going to happen, and it's going to be great.
So the 4 members are going to be so on, and then there's so forth. So the 2 so's are definitely the revival.
And then on and forth.
So, we got Harwood and Wheeler are so and so, because you got to be the tag team. So we got on and fourth. I figure Cody's 4th maybe, and Sean Spears is on.
Sean Spears is on because he's Sean Spears.
There you go. And Cody can't be Cody Rhodes, so he's Cody 4th.
Cody 4th. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, God. Terrible. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Yeah. We'll see you next time, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. But for now, this has been another Smart Count moment, and we're being counted out.